I'm going to start the broadcast. Okay, good. So I think you can let in the participants, Andrea.
Voy.
Okay.
Voy a poner mi micrófono.
Okay. Okay, bueno,
Ya.
ya estamos en vivo en YouTube. Okay. Bienvenidos a todos los que se están conectando a esta, nuestra sesión número 13 de Online Shadowing. Les pedimos por favor que apaguen sus micrófonos para poder evitar los ruidos innecesarios. Okay. Bueno, vamos a esperar 1, 2 o 3 minutitos para permitir que otros chicos puedan conectarse. Mientras tanto, me gustaría que los chicos y las chicas que están conectados nos escribieran de qué universidad son, qué estudian. Queremos conocerlos. Ok, UPR Bayamón. Tenemos a gente de UPR Bayamón. ¿De dónde más nos están sintonizando? Me gustaría que nos dijeran. San Juan Bautista, Ruth. UPR Calley, estudia biología, Intermetro, UPR Calley, Humacao. Graduada de UPR Bayamón, UPR Calley, UPR Río Piedra, University Gardens High School. Escuela Superior Dr. Carlos González de Aguada. Me emociona mucho que tengamos estudiantes de escuela superior con ese interés de ya conocer desde esa etapa lo que es la carrera de PA o de asociado médico, como se le dice en español. UPR Mayagüez Biología, RUN, UPR Ponce, UPR Calley, UAHAM, Aguadilla, Interbayamón, Intermetro, UGHS, muy bien. Tenemos a muchas personas. Valencia College desde Kissimmee, Florida, súper. Interbarranquitas, La Brígida. Ok. Bueno. ¿Pueden ver mi pantalla, correcto?
Sí.
Ok, bueno. Fabiola, te voy a ceder el micrófono para que puedas dar la bienvenida, ¿ok?
Ok, pues bienvenidos a todos, muy buenas noches oficialmente a la sesión número 13, la primera sesión de febrero. Hoy tendremos a Sharti Irizarry, directora del programa de PA, Laura Juárez, oficial de admisiones, y algunos de los estudiantes del programa de Physician Assistant de la Escuela de Medicina de San Juan Bautista, de aquí de Puerto Rico. Primero que todo, pues le queremos recalcar un poquito de la información de nuestra organización de Shadowing. Nuestro equipo se compone de nuestro mentor José A. Marrero, nuestra fundadora Keishla Arce y las coordinadoras que se componen de Andrea Rodríguez, Andrea Rivera y esta servidora. Como misión de Shadowing, nuestra misión es conectar virtualmente a los estudiantes de premédica con doctores de distintas especialidades. Queremos expandirnos para cubrir otras profesiones de la salud como farmacia, medicina dental, investigación clínica, etc. La dinámica, como ya la mayoría conoce, y los nuevos, pues les recalcamos. Las sesiones son todas los viernes a las 7 p.m. por Zoom y YouTube Live en caso de que no puedan entrar a la sesión de YouTube. Las invitaciones se envían por correo electrónico. Es importante que se suscriban para que ustedes puedan recibir estas invitaciones de las sesiones virtuales. Verifiquen su inbox y el spam semanalmente. Tenemos quizzes semanales. El próximo quiz cerraría el próximo viernes, viernes, si no me equivoco, es 12, viernes 12 de febrero. Así que nada, también, como conocen, somos una organización sin fines de lucro. Le pedimos pues, amablemente que si les sale de su corazón, pues también donarnos a nosotros. Saben que pues nosotros también pues necesitamos cubrir los gastos de las suscripciones, ya sean de Zoom o de las distintas plataformas digitales que estamos usando para llegar a ustedes. Así que nada, cualquier donativo hace un gran impacto para que nosotros podamos seguir expandiéndonos y sigamos trayéndole educación sobre el área de medicina a ustedes. Este sería el calendario de febrero. Como ya saben, hoy estamos en la sesión número 13 y el 12 de febrero tenemos la sesión 14 que sería relacionada a obstetricia y ginecología. Y con esto también les promociono el programa de premédica de verano que tiene la Escuela de Medicina de Recinto de Ciencias Médicas. Los requisitos básicos de este programa es para aquellos estudiantes que inicien su tercer y cuarto año de estudio en agosto 2021, ser de la UPR, y también están sus requisitos. Pueden chequear en el correo electrónico en caso de que tengan alguna duda o preguntas sobre el mismo. Las reglas de la sesión: todos los micrófonos apagados para evitar ruido innecesario, cámara encendida opcional. Al final, como de costumbre, haremos la sesión de preguntas y respuestas. Esta vez tendremos a los estudiantes de la Universidad de la Escuela de Medicina de San Juan Bautista, quienes nos van a estar asistiendo, contestando las preguntas que se vayan haciendo durante la sesión. Sin embargo, aquellos que nos ven por YouTube Live, también está el chat disponible y ahí pueden hacer las preguntas y nosotras las coordinadoras se las haremos llegar a los estudiantes. No se toleran palabras soeces ni comentarios fuera de lugar. Y con esto oficialmente comenzamos la sesión.
Sí, perfecto. Gracias, Fabiola. Ahora sí los vamos a dejar con Charity. Importante, la sesión de hoy, como vieron, es en inglés. Así que pues ese es el idioma que se habla durante el primer año del programa PA en San Juan Bautista. Sin embargo, si usted tiene alguna pregunta en español, usted la puede hacer en el chat y los estudiantes se van a encargar de contestarla en español. Ahora sí, Charity, you can start your presentation.
Oh, gracias, saludos. Prefiero hablar en inglés, así que, so thank you. Welcome everyone to our session this evening. We're really happy to have such a great turnout. We're very excited to share our profession with you and our program that just opened at San Juan Bautista School of Medicine in Caguas. We seated our first PA class in Puerto Rico in January 5th. And so today is our 1 month anniversary, which is extremely exciting. So we do have a few students here from our inaugural cohort that's also here to answer questions for you. And I'm also here with my colleague, Laura Juarez, and we will both be presenting this evening. Happy to answer your questions. So we're going to open with a PowerPoint that's going to give you a very good overview of what a PA is. And also we'll touch on how PAs are regulated in Puerto Rico and the amendments to the law that we are going to be, or we already are advocating for as we introduce our profession into the medical community on the island. So again, welcome everyone. So my name is Charity Ramsey Irisari, and I am the program director of this program. And my colleague, Laura, I'll have her introduce herself as well.
Hello, everyone. We're excited to be here this evening. My name is Lara Juarez, and my role is the academic coordinator for our program. We are excited this evening to answer some of your questions. Thank you for submitting some of them ahead of time. We tried to add slides that answer your questions already. So we will be going over admissions, deadlines, what the board exam is like, and hopefully answer a lot of your questions just with the slides. So thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So our Dean of Health Science and the Dean of our program is Dr. Ginel Rodriguez. He is a practicing pediatrician on island. And our medical director is Dr. Michelle Moringlane, and she's also a practicing pediatrician. So we're really we're really grateful to have such a great team as we bring PA education to the island. So a little bit about myself, I'll give you some background. I was born and raised in the Northwest in a very big state called Montana. It's gorgeous, it's in the Rocky Mountains, and it was a really wonderful place to grow up. So I did get my undergrad degree from Montana State University in Bozeman, Montana, and then relocated to Miami, Florida for PA school several years ago. I am really surprised that this is my 20th year of being a physician assistant. We age very well. And I think it's a really great profession, and it's a profession that I am so grateful that I've been a part of. My background clinically is internal medicine, women's health, and family practice. So I have treated throughout the lifespan with a primary focus in again, in women's health and preventative and integrative medicine. Alongside my clinical career, I also have an academic background that extends the entirety of my PA profession, which was a really unique opportunity to build two careers beside each other, one in clinical medicine and one in academics. So my alma mater and the school I graduated from was Barry University, and I was an educator there for 18 years, and the director of clinical education, placing students across the U.S. and also in the islands and the USVI in St. Croix and in St. Thomas. And so I've also had PA students that have had clinical rotations on the island in Puerto Rico. So this has been a long-standing goal and dream of mine to bring PA education to the island, and I am honored to be the program director of the first program that has opened on island.
So my name again is Lara Juarez, and my background, so that you know how I became a physician assistant, I studied my undergraduate in Brigham Young University in Utah, and I studied community health and public health. And then I got a master's degree before I went to PA school. You don't have to do that, but I really loved public health, and I didn't know very much about being a physician assistant. So I did a master's in public health first, and I really loved that. But then I realized I wanted to do more and be able to help people one-on-one instead of just in a community. So I went to PA school after that. And since then, I found that I really love working in surgery. That's my favorite. One of the nice things about being a physician assistant is you do not have to choose one specialty and stay with it for your whole career. So I started out in surgery and I loved it. And then when we moved, I had the opportunity to work in primary care and urgent care, and also in geriatrics and orthopedic surgery. So I feel like I had my own little residency, trying a little bit of everything, which is nice. I love to teach, and sorry, that's my dog contributing. And I have taught at Utah Valley University for 7 years, And then my husband and I moved to Puerto Rico, where we are excited to bring a physician assistant profession here to the island. And we're excited to talk to you about how this profession can help the doctors and nurses that are already here, and we can start to build an even bigger team and work together.
Absolutely. So San Juan Bautista has been on the island since 1978, and I believe in 1998 is when they relocated from San Juan to Caguas. And the focus of SJB's is medical, it's essentially community service along with research. We are the fourth program to be in the school, so they do have a MD program, a Master's of Public Health, and a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. And so for physician assistant, we are Masters of PA Studies. So we're really excited to be a part of the SJB community. Most of you know right where Caguas is located, and we are right really in the heart of Caguas, just south of San Juan. So we went through an incredible year of 2020. Everybody was forced to be virtual, and it was the first time that the accreditation body had to turn their site visits into a virtual platform, which was extremely challenging, but actually pretty awesome. We put together our application and worked together as a virtual team to have a site visit in July, and it went splendidly, went really, really well. We were granted provisional accreditation in October of this last year in 2020. That is the highest accreditation that a new or developing program can earn. And we have started off on excellent footing. So any PA program needs to be formally accredited for PAs to enter, graduate, and then be permitted to sit for the national boards to earn their certification. Certification is good nationwide as well as in the US territories.
So for you as a student, why do you care that this program is accredited? And the answer is it's very important to you because that means that you are eligible to take the board exam. So if you graduate from another institution that is not accredited, then you can't take the board exam. So this is a very exciting, very big deal for you as a student.
So what is a PA? And so we know that we are introducing a profession into a medical community that may not understand what a physician assistant is. Our name is a bit confusing and it's highly debated, especially over the last several years. But regardless, PAs are medical professionals. We interview patients taking full histories to make proper diagnoses. We develop and manage treatment plans and incorporate patient education. We prescribe medications. PAs work in every single field. We are trained to primary care, internal medicine, family practice, women's health, and pediatrics. But because we are so well trained and versatile, PAs can choose to specialize in any area of medicine that they would like. Every single area. So whether that's special care nursery in the neonatal ICU, or if that is cardiovascular surgery or orthopedic surgery, dermatology, endocrinology, cardiology, you name the field, PAs can fill it. So the PA profession has definitely evolved. In 1998, our national organization called the American Academy of Physician Assistants, or APA, endorsed the formal title of our name in Espanol to be Asociado Médico. And it is the most formal way to translate our name and title into Spanish. whereas médico asistente really translates to a medical assistant. And here stateside, MAs are part of your support team, but PAs are very above and beyond trained above what an MA is. So even though the law in Puerto Rico refers to the title of médico asistente, médico asistente in PR encompasses two unrelated professions that can get licensed using the same name. And that may be those who have graduated from a foreign medical institution, who are not eligible to sit for boards, or they're not eligible to sit for PA boards either because they haven't graduated from an accredited program, but they are permitted to be licensed in PR and practice under the title of PA, which is unfortunate because this is a profession that stands on its own. So one of the biggest movements to amend the law or to actually create a new one is to extend Asociado Médico, which is our most proper title, and our licensure to be preserved for those that are certified PAs that have graduated from an accredited institution, have sat for the PA National Certification Exam called the PANCE. If you hear us say PANCE, that's what that is. And so that we can practice under our own law and with our own privileges. So if you see the term medico asistente, we're talking about the same thing, but APA and those who are who work in the Hispanic communities stateside are referred to as asociado médico, and our patients refer to us using that title as well. So we really wanted to explain why you might hear both.
We also wanted to let you know that a medical assistant, as a person who takes your blood pressure when you go to see the doctor, or they take your temperature, or they help you from the waiting room back into the exam room, many PA students get experience by being a medical assistant. So it's an excellent way to begin your career and learn some of those skills like taking a blood pressure. And then you go on and get your bachelor's degree and then master's degree, and that's an actual physician assistant.
There you go.
So here's a great slide. Somebody asked us ahead of time, what's the difference between a PA and a medical doctor or an MD? And the answer is they are teammates. So they work together hand in hand. There are a few differences in how long you go to school. So for example, a physician assistant does a 4-year bachelor's degree first, and then they go to PA school for about 2.5 years, 28 months average. Whereas a medical doctor does their 4 years of a bachelor's degree and then 4 years of medical school, and then they can do a fellowship, an internship, a fellowship, specialty training, etc. So one point is how long you study. Another point that I mentioned already is that a PA can switch specialties. So if you begin in dermatology and then later you would like to work in pediatrics, you can switch. If you are a medical doctor, you study to become just one thing, and you usually stay in that field for your whole career. So that's another thing that is different. Ultimately, though, both see patients on their own. You can see new patients, you can see patients before and after a surgery, you can see little infant baby children all the way to old grandparents, so across the whole lifespan. You can order tests. Maybe they need lab work or an X-ray or CT scan, and then you get the results back. Both a PA and a medical doctor can look at those results and make a decision on a treatment plan. And both of those people can prescribe medicine and then follow up with the patient later. So when we talk about bringing physician assistants to Puerto Rico and to San Juan Bautista, probably if you are here, you are interested in medicine and healthcare. And we know that Puerto Rico needs many more healthcare providers. So we are excited because now we get to be part of that family and part of the family that helps bring healthcare to the people of Puerto Rico. On the island, there are about 3.5 million people. And if you take the number of doctors and you try to divide them, that would be about 2.5 physicians for every 1,000 people, which is so many people that need to be seen. And also, a lot of those doctors are in the big cities, in San Juan and in Caguas and in Rincon and Ponce. But it's more difficult to find a provider or a specialist when you live in a little bit smaller city. So one of the missions that we have as a PA program, and not just at San Juan Bautista, is we want to help the communities and get more people out where it would be difficult for them to find a provider, or they would have to wait a long time in order to see somebody.
All right, so how are PAs the solution? How do PAs fill in gaps in medicine? So PAs are a complement to an interdisciplinary team or interprofessional collaboration. So we expand the clinical team, also expanding patient access to their provider. So working together with an MD or a DO or with other PAs, nurse practitioners, etc., we can develop a stronger team that's more comprehensive and giving patients access to care. That, of course, will reduce wait time. Also, PAs can help to advocate for patients through insurance, through prior authorizations. They can call in prescriptions and help patients manage multiple prescriptions, recovery from surgery, contending with the illness that they are dealing with. Again, PAs can specialize in any area, and if at any time during their career they would like to switch a specialty or switch practices, it's very simple to do. PAs can gain licensure now in all 50 states and US territories, which is very exciting. We know that we can increase patient satisfaction. PAs are known to be excellent communicators, usually much more approachable than MDs, and not for any other reason other than just lifestyle and workload, which is still pretty heavy. But also we increase revenue. We contribute to the money that comes into a practice or into the hospital, and that makes us very marketable.
So we have a video we would like to show you, I hope.
Los asociados médicos son profesionales de la salud que ejercen la medicina. Le pueden ayudar a reponerse y mantenerse saludable. Los asociados médicos pueden examinarle, diagnosticarle y tratarle cuando se enferma o lesiona. Pueden interpretar sus exámenes de laboratorio, realizar procedimientos médicos y asistir en cirugías. También tienen la autoridad para recetar medicamentos. La mayoría de asociados médicos completan un programa de maestría que incluye 2,000 horas en rotaciones clínicas, pero su formación nunca termina. Ellos completan 100 horas de educación médica cada 2 años y deben pasar un examen riguroso para recertificarse cada 10 años. Además de ser certificados a nivel nacional como asociados médicos, deben de obtener una licencia para practicar en su estado. Usted podrá encontrar asociados médicos en todas las especialidades, desde la pediatría hasta la cirugía, y en todos los ámbitos médicos, desde los hospitales hasta los centros de salud comunitarios. Los asociados médicos están dedicados a brindar excelente atención centrada en el paciente. Los asociados médicos han demostrado que incrementan el acceso a la atención en la salud, mejoran sus resultados y elevan la satisfacción del paciente. Visite aapa.org para obtener más información.
Wonderful. So this is a great pictogram of all the different things that PAs can do: obtaining histories, performing a physical exam, order and interpret lab tests, order and interpret lab imaging studies, diagnosing illness, developing treatment plans, performing procedures, and assisting surgical operations.
The other thing we'd like to let you know is that PA's education is in the medical model as opposed to the nursing model. So both are very important, but they are different. And a PA is closer to a doctor than they are to a nurse. So the medical model means we have many of the same prerequisites, many of the same classes, but we do them faster, and then you get to practice sooner.
So we touched on this just a little bit, but in August in 2017, law number 71 was written to regulate the profession of the PAs in PR. About 18 months later, in January of 2019, we were formally able to attain medical licensing. It still is a very delayed process. Perhaps it's COVID, but PAs are now being licensed. The majority of PAs that are on island currently are foreign medical graduates that practice under the PA license, but are not authentic PAs. They practice using the title, and just recently have certified PAs now gained licensure in Puerto Rico. So the movement is happening, and we all have to start somewhere. And so we're really excited that the first PAs are finally now earning this license.
So some of the things that we are advocating for some change in Puerto Rico with Ley 71 is we hope that we can help everyone to use the correct translation of our name. And we also hope that we can separate the difference between a physician assistant who goes to PA school and those people who have gone to medical school, but they maybe have not passed the USMLE, or they graduated from medical school in another country, because really we are two different professions. So we hope that we can separate those so that we can become our correct profession as a PA. Right now, every order and progress note is required to be signed by a physician, and we are not allowed to prescribe medication at this time. Now, in Puerto Rico, we know that this will change, but it will take some time. So we are going to train the physician assistant students to learn pharmacology and to know how to prescribe medication, because they need to know. It will hopefully change here, or if they decide to practice somewhere else in the United States or the US Virgin Islands or somewhere else, they need to know how to prescribe medication safely. So we do train you in our program to learn how to prescribe.
And PAs in the vast majority of states also prescribe controlled substances. So prescription privileges are a huge part of our latitude of what we can do to render care.
So we've talked about the PA program mission, but the type of student that we are looking for is very special. So the type of student that we hope applies is someone who wants to be part of a team, and that they are ready to practice in a variety of settings, in the city, in the country, with grown-ups and adults, or with children and babies, and be able to serve all people, no matter where they are from, what language they speak, what their religion is, or what their sexuality is, that we will treat everyone exactly the same. And also that you want to be a lifelong learner, because anybody that studies medicine will not be able to learn everything right now. And things change. There's always something new. There's something in genetics, and there's new technology and ultrasound that we can learn. So it has to be a person that always wants to be learning and always trying to find new information.
Yay. Thank you for throwing genetics in there. Shout out to genetics. So I, I teach clinical genetics, and it is such a great field, and it's up and coming. So if anybody has a natural affinity for genetics, even as a PA, you could become a certified genetic counselor and work in a genetics clinic should you want to. So that might be my second life. All right, or third, whichever life I'm on right now. I might have 9. All right, our program goals, I know that Laura touched on this. We're really, really proud of our diversity in our classroom. I believe in diversity through and through. From our backgrounds, we have an ability to share so much with each other and learn so much from each other, and even cognitive diversity. So we do like to see students that have different styles and types of degrees. So long as you meet the prerequisites, which we're going to talk about here in a couple more slides, you can have your Bachelor's of Science or Bachelor's of Art in any field of your choosing, but the prerequisites are mandatory, and we'll go over those. We absolutely celebrate cultural competency, as we want to aim to render care to the population overall. So our admission requirements are all on our website. So if you need any clarification, you could certainly review our website at sanjuanbautista.edu and look at the PA program. And we have a centralized application process that's called CASPA. CASPA is also found online. All of the prerequisite coursework has to be completed within the last 10 years. You must have a minimum of a 3.0 GPA, both overall, globally, on your classes, and specifically with your science classes, chemistry, physics, and biology. All transcripts are submitted through CASPA system. You will also write a personal essay and statement of why you would like to pursue PA education, what it would mean to you to become a PA, and what you would like to do with your career. You do need to submit a minimum of 3 letters. You can submit more, but a minimum of 3 letters, preferably from a medical doctor or a DO, Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine, either one, a PA. If you don't know a PA, it is okay. You don't have to have a letter of recommendation from a PA. One of your college professors, pick your favorite class that you did great in, and have one of your college professors write you a letter. And then also another could be from one of your supervisors, somebody that paid you to come to work, or if you did extensive volunteer service, whomever watched over your volunteer service to validate your hours or your service work. We do have a requirement of direct patient care hours, a minimum of 200 hours, which is very small compared to some programs that might require 1,000 to 2,000 hours of direct patient care. That direct patient care can come in a variety of ways, from a pharmacy tech to a med tech, an EMT, an MA. We have a wide net of direct patient contact hours. We want to see you interacting with the community and actually be following a calling to study medicine. We really give you additional attention when you have served your community in any way, whether it's through meals, through your church, through community service events. So any community service, mission work, and volunteer experience. Also leadership. We recruit natural leaders. PAs are natural leaders. So if you've been a part of a pre-PA club or a pre-health or pre-med club, if you've been a part of your student government, are you a student athlete? Have you had military service? Have you been a teacher or a TA? And have you participated in research and publishing? Now, keep in mind that community service, leadership, and publishing or TA, those are all optional. They're not mandatory, but you do get weighted heavier for those that have had those experiences when we are reviewing our very competitive applicant pool. Moving on to our required prerequisite coursework, this is very standard. When you are applying to PA school, definitely if you have in areas of the US mainland or in PR, really look at each school's website. Some of the prerequisites will be different, but for the most part, they're the same. So biochem, organic chem, or a biochem with a lab. Labs are really important. We do understand that we do have some COVID exceptions if you weren't able to complete labs in person, but we'll handle all of those individually. English composition, behavioral science, humanities, a pre-calculus. That's not pre-algebra, it's the pre-calculus that you take prior to a formal calculus class, and then a baseline statistics course. All of our courses are taught in English. And so all of the exams are offered in English because the PANCE, the National Certification Exam, is only offered in English. So that's important to note.
The other important part of that is that when you go out in your second year to clinicals and you are seeing patients, whether that's in the hospital or in the clinic, they may speak Spanish or English. So even though your first year is primarily in English, you do need to be comfortable speaking Spanish and also medical terms in Spanish for the second year when you're talking to the patients.
We also recommend microbiology, medical terminology, but they're not required. We also recommend PA shadowing, but we recognize that not all students in Puerto Rico know a PA or have an opportunity to shadow PA. So it does not preclude you from applying. We really understand that. But if you have an opportunity to shadow, that's great. And if you don't, we understand.
Right now in Puerto Rico, the PAs that are practicing that have graduated from PA school work at the Veterans Hospital, the VA, and the federal prison and military installations.
We do have technical standards. Again, these are on our website. And again, they're very, very straightforward. So we offer a Master of Science in PA Studies. So our first cohort began January and they will graduate in May of 23, and it will be here like that. You know, note, it goes by very, very quickly. Once you're in it, and they'll attest to that, it's a very intense, and the months really start to go by. I can't believe we're already 1 month in. There's a total of 7 semesters. We refer to them as semesters stateside. Our school refers to them as trimesters. They mean the same thing. So if you see a semester or trimester, we're using the same, 2 different terms to talk about the same thing. So ours is divided into 28 months. So one first full year, 12 months of didactic education, followed by 12 months of clinical education. And then the last 4 months of the program are called the culminating semester, where a student will have both didactic and clinical experiences. They'll write their master's capstone paper and take board review and get ready to graduate and sit for boards, which is the PANCE. And that's exactly, yep. So that slide I just covered. Moving on.
So
All
here's
right.
an example. Sorry. So here's an example of what the first 3 semesters look like. And I'm sure that our students that are in their first trimester right now are going, yeah, this is a lot, because it is very heavy in science the first semester. And then each semester after that, it focuses more and more on clinical, on the clinical aspect. So you'll have physiology, again, but with a clinical focus, and pharmacology, advanced microbiology and immunology. We'll study a little bit about psychosocial issues. So that means the things that help to make medicine more human. So how to communicate with people and how to deal with difficult topics, like when somebody is going to pass away or they're going to die, or when you have a difficult diagnosis, maybe of cancer, how to talk to people and be compassionate, but also how to have boundaries and to protect your own wellness and your own mental health. So some issues about being culturally sensitive and how to hopefully not offend people from different cultures and our profession. And then how to take history and how to do a diagnosis. So how do you look in the ear? How do you examine the eye? Where do you place your stethoscope in order to listen to the different parts of the heart? So how to physically diagnose. And then clinical molecular mechanisms of disease, that's biochemistry, and advanced human anatomy with a lab as well. In COVID times right now, we are using some pretty cool apps. Maybe the students will be able to tell you. So they download the apps on their phone and then it will project 3D and you can cut away and see all of the muscles and then cut away and see the vessels and then cut away and see the bones. So we're making some adjustments because of COVID, but we are looking forward to being in person as soon as we can.
Here's our trimester 2 lineup as the medicine really starts to advance in the second semester. So getting into more in-depth pharmacology, women's health, pediatrics, general surgery, and then the clinical medicine classes that are topic specific. Clin Med 1 and 2 are in trimester 2, and then in the next slide over, which will be trimester 3, we finish that off with clinical medicine 3 and 4, and also bridging in all of the specialties in medicine, expanding the education through emergency medicine, geriatrics, further surgery, as PAs are really instrumental in orthopedic surgery and ENT. And then there's also additional classes getting the student prep for their clinical year in epidemiology, biostats, and introducing students to medical research methods so they can start formulating what they would like to write their master's capstone project on.
So another one of the questions that we got was, do PAs get to do research? And the answer is yes. There's lots of different kinds of research. And so some of what you'll do is derived and descriptive research. So that's why we teach you how to do a literature review, how to find studies and evaluate them for their accuracy, their robustness, a little bit of the statistics, and if you like public health, a little epidemiology. So a lot of what's happening with COVID, how we track an outbreak of a disease, how you see where the hotspots are and how to trace the people that have come down with an illness. So a lot of things that are very relevant right now in our life.
After the didactic year is completed, students will start their clinical year. There will be a total of 9 rotations, 8 core rotations that are listed here in the core sciences and fields, and 1 elective of the student's choosing. For a student that wants to do a rotation stateside, that would be ideally your elective, and so we can help to facilitate the affiliations to set up a rotation stateside. Also during the clinical year, those are the web-based courses. Medical ethics, of course, yes, and evidence-based medicine, which are really relevant to the clinical year. The rotations are about 5 weeks, and then you come back to campus to take an exam on the content and have notes and everything reviewed before you start then the next rotation.
And then here's our last semester where everything kind of comes together. So we review everything that you've learned and we help you get ready to pass the board exam, which is called PANTS. And we'll talk about that. It sounds like pants that you wear, but it's an acronym. So when you hear PANTS, it's the board exam. So we help you get ready for that, how to study, how to take practice tests and get ready, and also do a community service project. So for those of you that have an interest in something very specific, or maybe before PA school, you enjoyed volunteering with the Red Cross or volunteering at a homeless shelter, then you may choose to do your community service project in the same field and with the same agency.
Excellent. So graduation requirements are listed here, and that essentially is successfully passing all of your courses and then including the summative evaluations. That's part of the accreditation requirements, is to have a summative evaluation at the end of your didactic year, as well as at the end of the clinical year, and also a formal physical exam. It's called an OSCE. And we have our program average listed here. 74.5 is our cutoff. And everything is in constant review. We do support our students to successfully complete the program.
So here's that word that I said, PANTS, right? So it's the Physician Assistant National Certifying Exam. And the reason we added this slide is another question that someone submitted was if they went to medical school already and they have a PA license in Puerto Rico, can they take this board exam? And unfortunately, the answer is no, because it is a totally different profession, like we said. So in order to take the board exam, you have to graduate from a PA program.
Yeah, we definitely addressed our language. I think everyone here is bilingual. And Spanish communication is really important for the clinical year. And so for our stateside students, that expectation is set. So they know that their clinical year, they need to be able to communicate in Spanish, to take a great history, and also to receive that answer. We really aim to not get things lost in details, so lost in translation. So it's important that we cross the language barrier and have a healthy expectation of on both sides, that students do really strongly recommend it to be bilingual. So for admissions, our CASPA cycle opens April 30th, so it's not open yet, but it does open April 30th. That's for all PA programs. Our cycle will be open until October 1st. At this moment in time, we are anticipating virtual interviews. Of course, if that changes, our applicants will be the first to know. All of the degrees, a Bachelor of Science or a Bachelor of Arts, that is required. It's a mandatory requirement, must be confirmed by the end of the summer. So that's usually by August 31st, the end of the summer semester. And then all transcripts submitted accordingly. So even if you have a course or one more prerequisite course that's not going to be finished until December, unfortunately, you'll miss that particular application cycle. And so you'd have to wait until the next cycle opens up. All of our applicants are notified by December 1st. We have a very small seat deposit to hold your seat. There are health forms, just like very standard immunization forms. Students do have to submit a background check per SJB's requirement, and also ensure that they meet the technical standards. Our tuition and fees are located on our website, and it has its own tab, so you can pull that sheet open and review the tuition and fees. That's always published data. Housing and transportation, there's no graduate housing at San Juan Bautista, so students are responsible for their own housing and transportation. Also given a medical equipment list of the medical equipment that you need to purchase. Travel for rotations is a must. Of course, you live on islands and recognize that transportation is imperative to get you to your rotation sites. All students are required to provide their own laptop, and then also a smartphone, and that comes with patient logging in the clinical year so that you can log your patient's bedside, understand what their diagnosis is, etc. Because you log your patients as you are building your student resume that will help support you as a certified PA to gain your first job by looking at all the experiences that you have had and collected as a student. Okay. You can follow us, stay informed. You can find us on our website. We also have a Facebook page, Instagram account, and Twitter. And we have 4 excellent first-year students with us here this evening. So Chris, Ruth, Hillary, and Jessica are also here to answer your questions from a student perspective, if we certainly haven't addressed all of your questions yet. So we do welcome your questions, and I do hope that we've answered the majority of them, and really thank you for your attention here this evening.
Thank you guys so much for having us and for hosting us. And we hope that you are excited about this profession coming to Puerto Rico, and excited to be some of the very first physician assistants on the island.
Thank you for the information that you brought us. Delegation.
No, está bien, continúa.
Nothing. I was just going to say that if we're going to start the questions, there are 3 questions on our YouTube live. If you guys want to start with those ones.
Sure, go ahead.
So the first one is that since we are in a pandemic, is there any alternative to get those 200 hours of volunteer patient care besides, for example, online shadowing, which is
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to suggest as well. We know that students or applicants will have a hard time gaining direct patient care experience during this time. We will accept telemedicine if you have an opportunity to shadow a PA or any provider through telemedicine. By all means, we will accept that. Don't be afraid to reach out to PAs stateside. Reach out to APA, the American Academy of PAs. They're designed to help you, even as pre-PA applicants, to help network you with providers that have already said that I will help a student gain hours. And so going through APA and emailing them, they can have some more resources for you.
all right. Thank you for that. And another one is, what can an MD do that a PA cannot do?
At this moment in time, MDs can practice autonomously. They can, what we call, hang their shingle out their door and accept patients freely. PAs need to be in collaboration with a physician in order to practice. Can we run our own practices? Yes, we can. However, that PA and PA provider relationship is part of our profession. It's how our profession is designed. And so practicing autonomously, and that's independently, without an MD is not an option for a PA, but we can render care without the doctor being present. In other words, that relationship exists on paper and for legal reasons, but you don't need to physically be in the same location. So a lot of PAs in rural clinics, especially across the US, are the only provider in their small community, and their supervising physician or collaborating physician may be several hours away. That is normal in some communities up in Alaska and even where I'm from in Montana, in these very small communities. And so PAs do have an ability to practice independently, but you work as in a team
And that's also good for the long run because as you guys mentioned earlier, there's a lot of people here and very little physicians. So having PAs near us is going to be good for us in the long run.
Absolutely. And physicians can supervise or oversee more than one PA. So that's a really good thing. So PAs can have physician collaboration with the same physician. So that's, again, increasing access to care, and that's the goal.
There are some questions in the chat, but the guys have been answering them via text. But if you guys want, I can read them for you, or one of the students can read them and tell us out loud your responses. So however you like, if one of the students wants to read it, or if you want me to read it.
I can address this one with about how you obtain your patient care experience on island. I know it's difficult for us Puerto Rican students because since the PA profession is not widely known, sometimes when you go to a private practice, like, hey, I want to work with you, like, what are you doing here? Anyway, at least my experience, I first networked with providers that I knew. For example, even my personal care provider, like he could know someone that is an attending, like he will let me shadow, will let me work with him. It doesn't have to be like a very formal title experience as long as you get the exposure and you get the experience per se. You don't have to have a title. However, if you ask me, a student that graduated from UPR Aguadilla, los otros días, 2019, if I could go back and change something about it, I would have done a technical degree in something where I was at school, maybe on the weekends, because it would be like a work experience. I he tenido varias experiencias laborales, pero si yo hubiese hecho un grado técnico o algo, que a veces uno lo piensa, diantre, tengo que pagar por un curso técnico los sábados, si estoy haciendo un bachillerato, sí, pero tú terminas ese curso técnico en lo que sea que lo haga, it's not going to take you not even a year. Usually it's way shorter. AMT, farm tech, depends what you like. And that's a way to gain the experience with a more proper title. But again, don't stress too much about the experience as long as you get the exposure to the medical field, because as a program, we are looking for you to know the main purpose of you having experience is to know that you know what you're getting yourself into. Like, this is a career. You're gonna be seeing patients, you're gonna have different interactions, you're gonna have easy patients, you're gonna have difficult patients. I'm a difficult patient, I'll admit it. However, that's the purpose of the experience part. Again, it's only 200 hours, is not much. If you ask me if you can do more to get a more round experience, do it. I hope that answered your questions, Natalie.
I agree with you. 200 hours is not enough. I shadowed an immunologist, and for me, I went 2 days a week, and I felt it was a very little time. So I don't know if you also answer the rest of the questions, but Hillary also answered. So Hillary, if you want to answer your question again for the audience that's in YouTube that cannot read the questions that are in Zoom. Hillary, are you there?
Yeah, ok. Una de las preguntas que se había dicho era si se podía aplicar con cualquier bachillerato, y las profesoras lo indicaron que sí, lo importante es tomar los requisitos. Otra de las preguntas, que esa también se la voy a hacer a la profesora, es que hicieron is pathology part of the specialties PA can specialize in, or will people interested in pathology go to a pathology assistant school? I think that you can. I know that there's the pathology assistant school. They are not that much, but a good thing about pathology physician assistant is that you can work. I think you can work as a in a pathology office, and if you want, you can also change. Now, I don't know much about that specialty, so I will let the professors answer that better.
Hillary is correct that PAs can choose to specialize in pathology. And actually, pathology is one of the highest paid specialties, makes the most money right now for a field as a physician assistant. So you can do things like collecting the specimens, you can do post-mortem. I don't know how to, like, what that word is. Autopsy. Autopsia?
Autopsias.
Yeah. And assisting as in the same way that you would as a physician assistant.
Voy a contestarle una pregunta en el chat, la voy a leer. ¿Me pueden escuchar bien?
Sí.
Ok. Una de las preguntas es ¿por qué escogieron Physician Assistant en vez de Medical Doctor? Por lo menos en mi experiencia, ya yo, ¿verdad? Soy una persona adulta, yo tengo hijos, yo estoy casada. So, para mí, estudiar Medical Doctor no me da la flexibilidad que Physician Assistant me da. Entonces, por ese sentido, aunque a mí me encantaba la medicina, realmente yo no puedo tener 4 años de medicina por bachillerato, más 2 años de especialidad. Entonces, Physician Assistant me dio a mí la flexibilidad de decir, ok, estudio 2 años, hago lo que realmente yo tengo pasión, que es medicina, pero no tengo que ir por todos esos años de medicina. Entonces, por eso, pues, entendí que PA era una opción viable para mí, que ya yo, ¿verdad? Soy una adulta y tengo familia, etcétera. Si tienen alguna otra pregunta, me la pueden hacer. Yo la contesto en lo mejor que yo pueda y lo que no, se lo pregunto a las profesoras.
En mi caso, ¿por qué yo escogí Physician Assistant? A mí me gusta aprender mucho de todo. Como Physician Assistant es una carrera, tú vas a estar toda tu vida practicándola. Tú no estás atado a ninguna especialidad, y cuando nos referimos a que tú practicas medicina en la especialidad, en la totalidad de la especialidad. Sí, van a haber algunos casos que vas a tener que ir de referencia a tu médico colaborativo, pero es parte del proceso de aprender. Y según tú vas ganando la experiencia con el pasar de los años, tras que vas a aumentar esa... Ok, vamos a hablar claro. Yo sé que el salario no es lo más importante aquí, pero Physician Assistant es una profesión que actualmente está pagando bien. La demanda va a continuar aumentando. Tienes la variabilidad de cambiar de especialidad, no estás atado a una especialidad. Tienes una flexibilidad más alta y más grande en cuestión de work-life balance, porque, por ejemplo, no sé si ya escuchan a las profesoras, todas ellas han practicado medicina mientras han estado en la academia. For me, a person that likes to teach also, on a future career, I want to be able to have the flexibility to be practicing the medicine and to be able to encourage others to learn.
Yeah, I really appreciate you saying all of that, Chris. I will say that the career really is flexible. I think that's one of the most attractive aspects of being a PA, is that if you would like to have a family, if you would like to have other interests outside of medicine, you can make medicine your whole life, or you can share your life amongst many interests. And so a PA can work full-time, a PA can work part-time, a PA can work in academia and work in a leadership. You could work in clinic. So you do have a lot of flexibility with this profession. And it's really, I think that's one of the most attractive aspects. Also, to answer the question about if we require a formal exam, we don't require the GRE or the MCAT. There's no CASPA test per se. So, yeah, and there's research behind that of why we don't require it. So it's in your favor. If you have taken it, you'll still use that information and add it to the CASPA application. But for our program, it's not a requirement.
I would like to do a question. So I don't know how many applications are you guys getting, because I know that the program is recent. However, I do believe that as students get to know that there's a PA program here in Puerto Rico, you will have tons of applications. So aren't you worried about how will you assess your students, that the ones that are you're going to accept to the program? I don't know how many students are you going to accept per class, but I know that the MCAT, for example, MD schools and DO schools use it as a filter. So I would like to know if are you worried that maybe you're gonna have to, validate the students' competitiveness
Yeah,
to
that's a great question.
other activities.
Yeah, it's a very good question, and it's a really good and rich conversation beyond this. But there really is a lot of research and self-study that goes into creating a cohort that is strong. And so you're right, PA school is highly competitive, meaning that in stateside, there's 260 PA programs. Some PA programs will gather 1,500 to 2,000, maybe even 3,000 applicants per cycle. That is incredible. Now, we do have a very, very robust and strict admissions system. And so some students that apply just don't compete based on not fulfilling the prerequisites or not fulfilling what those requirements are. So we do expect our second year to be a very heavy year of applications because we just got the word out. Our first cohort were the ones that were on point. They were paying attention. They were waiting for us. And I think like Chris and Ruth and Jessica and Hillary, you got your applications in like right away. Like, here we go. We're going to do this. So we know that the second year is going to be even more so. We will be accepting 35 students for our second cohort. And then for our third cohort, we anticipate accepting 45 students. 45 is our cap, so that won't go up higher beyond that. But for our first 2 years, we know that we're going to have a smaller cohort as we get going, and then we will max out at 45.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hay una pregunta. It's basically about what challenges we are experiencing since we're virtual. Okay. I'm going to be very honest. It has been very smooth for us as of now because the resources and the setting, how it's structured, I have to admit that they've done a very good job because we haven't experienced any difference in education-wise between a virtual learning or an in-class learning. Exams are proctored. This is it's not gonna be like a Moodle ni en Blackboard. No, you are gonna have a camera watching over you. If you are wondering about it, don't even think about it. The second thing, COVID really, for Puerto Rican students, I think is the technology issue with the internet. So other than that, we are doing great. So if you're stressing about the pandemic extends a little bit up to when you start your application cycle, don't. It has been a very smooth transitioning. I know we've heard horror stories back in August, but by now I think we've learned most of the stuff that we need to know for virtual learning.
I would like to also add that even though we're in the pandemic, we've actually, as a class, we've worked very close together. We have this group WhatsApp, we talk to each other, and even some of us made a little like groups and little friends that we were like, okay, our personalities match more. So we're doing little study sessions. We're using Zoom more than anything. I think we even FaceTime each other a lot during the day. We're like, okay, what are you studying for? Instead of calling each other, we're like, hey, like, you're doing pharm today, you're doing anatomy, okay, don't forget the physio, like you have to do this too. So it's, I think even though with the pandemic, you still, the classes has been bonding very well together.
Hay una pregunta que se levantó. Sorry.
I see Carla's question here. Okay. The answer, Carla, for you, is it possible to go to PA school and then to MD school? Yes, it's possible, but you should really ask yourself why. Why would you want to do that? Choose one career or the other. You do not need to choose PA as like a lily pad to hop from one career to the other. If you feel in your heart that you would like to pursue MD, pursue MD. But if you also feel that you would like to be a PA, you're going to fall in love with it. And whether you choose to go on from there, you choose more student debt, you know, because then it costs a lot more to get to where you're going. So I would really, really do some self-reflection. What career makes the most sense for you? What makes the most sense for your lifestyle? What makes the most sense for where you want to live? And then choose that career and go with it. But don't utilize the PA profession to go on to medical school. Just go on to medical school if that's ultimately what your calling is. Either way, we'd love to have you as a PA. It's a really, really great career.
I would like to add on that, if that's okay. I was originally pre-med, and then it wasn't until, and I even shadow a DO doctor at a family practice in New York. So that's where I did my undergrad. And then I went and did City MD, which is urgent care in New York. And there I was able to meet a lot of PAs. And that's when I started like, okay, well, what's the PA? So you have to do the research. They're very similar, MD, PA, NPs. They're all about the same level. MD is obviously a little higher, but you have to know the difference between each. Like, are you more flexible with like, you want to do different specialties? And that's what I chose PA, because I want to be able to switch, like if I want to do ortho or then I want to do ER. That's why I chose PA. But that if you want to make sure, you have to do your own research and take time. It took me almost like a year to fully go like, okay, PA is my decision. And then I work towards PA because they're all different requirements, different tests that you have to do. You don't want to waste time studying for the MCAT and then decide you want to do PA and then study for the GRE. And the prerequisites for PA school are more specific than MD school. You have a lot of more prerequisites than MD. So you need to make sure that this is like what you want if you choose this route.
I will say in clinical year, and not even our students know this yet because they just started, but PA students on rotation are the equivalent to a third-year medical student. You'll be surprised that your medical information is equivalent. So it is like about 50%, well, probably more like 75% of medical school in half the time. So we call it like drinking water through a fire hose. I laugh because it's the way it really does go like that. It's very fast and furious, and it works. It really works.
So Andrea Carolina, she's one of our team, part of our team from Online Challenge. She has some questions. I see her with her hand up. So go ahead, Andrea.
Hi. My question for you is, how has the PA profession changed since it first started, and what to expect from this profession in the coming years?
Wow, what a question. This profession has changed. It changes every year. This is a good thing because it evolves. It's an evolution that's answering a calling to the community itself. And so I will say that, like, for example, the way that the law is written in Puerto Rico now is the way the law used to be written in the state of Florida 20 years ago. So that the way the law is written is not necessarily an oddity compared to what has happened in other states. So we know that the profession is built on advocacy, is built on legislation. So PAs have to have a voice at the government level. And again, we are now recognize how well trained we are, that some medical schools have now modeled their education after PA education, shortening seat time in the classroom, knowing that you can translate a vast amount of medical information in a smaller amount of time. Also, PAs have transitioned to a point where now we also can join in fellowships and residencies after PA school that will take what you've learned in PA school and make you even stronger in the medicine that you're pursuing. So there are a variety of fellowships and residencies to join after PA school. It's not a requirement, it is optional, but it certainly can increase training and make you more marketable for a job placement. Where it's going, PAs are designed from war times. I mean, really, it was originally the medics in our armed forces that came out of war so well trained, and what do we do with these practitioners that don't have letters behind their name? And so as the PA profession really did grow from these well-trained individuals into fitting and filling community need, we have already have the results stateside that we know will impact the medical crisis that Puerto Rico is facing, with a lot of the professionals that are emigrating stateside for other opportunities, etc. We know that PAs can fill that gap. As a practitioner and with my colleagues in the U.S. Virgin Islands, I will say that PAs have made really a dramatic impact in the medical community in the USVI. And also the PAs that were trained on the island remained on the island and still practice there today. So that's really impressive. And that's absolutely what our goal is to train PAs in Puerto Rico who want to stay and who have a community to serve. So it really is continuing to evolve.
I have a question from YouTube. It says, is there a similar process to matching when obtaining a job as a PA?
Is there a similar process to mention?
Matching.
Matching. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, there isn't. We don't have a matching program. It's not required. So because it really is listed for several years now as one of the top, if not the number one of the top 3 jobs in the US and in the US territories, we do not need to have placement. PAs are sought after. So new grads do not have difficulty finding jobs. I would say within this COVID year, that was the exception to the rule based on so many factors of this global pandemic. However, new grads are very, very sought after because you're trainable. Teams see that as a very attractive aspect in recruiting new medical providers, that they can train, and therefore it makes you an even more productive member of that medical team.
I have a question regarding residencies, because I know that for MDs or DOs, you have to take the USMLE Step 3 in order to practice in a specialty. So I would like to know if, in the case of PAs that would like to go into a residency, is that also required?
Yeah, you don't have to take a placement exam to get into a PA residency. You do have to be a graduate of the institution and have your certification. You apply for a residency, and these residencies are usually about 12 to 15 months. Some might go longer, 18 to 24 months, depending on the intensity and the field of medicine that it's in.
Okay, yeah. I thought that it was I thought PAs could do residencies with MD students like the same. That's why I asked. So I'm sorry if I misunderstood.
No, yeah, they're different. They're specified for PAs. They are PA residencies, so they are not to be confused with an MD residency, which is very different.
There are some extra tests you can take to get an extra certification in a specialty, and sometimes that means you will get extra money, but it's your choice and you don't have to match in order to do it.
An example, I'm a rheumatology freak, so I'm all over the Academy of Rheumatology. Most academy for specialty, by now they're developing like a section for advanced providers that you can get certificated on. And this kind of like gives you like a base of what the specialty is about, the techniques, the approach, the treatment plans. And that's a way for you to become more in-depth if you want to practice, let's say, I don't know, GI, and you want to go all over it, go to the GI Academy website, see what they're doing about for advanced practitioners. So, and that's a way for you to like have further on training after graduation, but you don't have to go and spend 80 hours a week in the hospital.
And the great thing about you find a doctor who wants a PA, they're going to train you and you're going to be like osmosis, let them teach you everything they know. And you really don't have to do a residency, so it's not required, but it really can give you a step up. But you can also train with a physician who will teach you that science as well.
So there's another question from Lorraine. She's asking the fact that the program has like a provisional accreditation, would that affect you once you graduate, or?
No. That's a great question. Thank you for asking that question, just for clarity. So provisional accreditation is given to any new and developing program who has proven that they are along with the ARC standards in the education that they're going to provide. Because of that provisional accreditation, we hold that for 3 years, no matter what. And in 3 years, we then would get our formal full accreditation. But any graduate of even a provisionally accredited program is still eligible to sit for the PANCE. It doesn't take away from the student experience at all. It is really more from an ARC PA accreditation standard. So I'm glad that you asked that question. So don't be confused by provisional. Provisional is exactly what we need and what we want to get going.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions that you guys have? Now's the time.
I wanted to know, so since PAs are really rare in the Iceland, how does the title or your work is it received in the hospitals in Puerto Rico, since the need, we need more doctors, we need more PAs, but how does it now, having this new program and having more PAs in the island, how is it well received in the medical world and for the doctors itself?
Yeah, thank you, Fabiola. It's a really great question. We know that we have work to do. We know that we are introducing a new profession, and then not everybody's going to understand it at first. We understand that some are going to feel like it is a place of competition, which it's not. And so we have our work as a clinical team when we're working with preceptors to understand what PAs are, what PA education is, how to be a preceptor for a PA student, which is exactly the same as being a preceptor for a medical student. There really is very little difference, if any, when it comes to that. So we, as a faculty and as a team, have our work to do to educate those medical providers that are going to be preceptors of what our expectation and what our standards are. In addition to that, our students are going to be, for a lot of the time, first line. They're going to be right there, even educating the hospital or the clinic of what their education is and what they're trained to do. And then therefore, when they become certified, how they can serve the community, generate revenue for the practice, because everybody needs and wants to make money. And that's right, rightfully so. And let's see, what else on this?
Well, you can ask the students that we have here tonight, but one of the questions that we asked them when they were interviewing for PA school was, how do you feel about being an ambassador? How do you feel about being a missionary for our profession? Does that scare you, or are you ready for the challenge? And those were the students that we picked, because they knew that there would be some people that would be very excited for us and some people that may not understand yet, but they were not afraid to go in and say, I am well trained, I have studied, and I deserve to be here, and I am here to help people, and not to compete or not to take away a job from a doctor, but really to be a teammate.
And those doctors, we did have, I've had several medical doctors in PR reach out to me and say, welcome. We're so excited to see you. And when I've reached out to them, it's usually because they've had a residency stateside. They've worked with PAs. They know what PAs can do. We are so happy you're here. Let me know when your class graduates. And I was like, well, please be a preceptor first and I'll get you students first. And so we know that MDs that have had either residencies or any training stateside know what PAs are and know the impact that we can make. Those are the preceptors. That's where we're starting, is with preceptors that already have a very healthy understanding of what PAs are and the impact that PAs can have in their practice and in their patient care.
I think that I would like to add that I can perceive that maybe the mentality is starting to change, that mindset where, you know, in the past years or maybe today, there were physicians that were kind of like against bringing PA to Puerto Rico, but I have seen that you guys are making a difference because you are the first program and you are making it possible for pre-PA students to dream about it and to reach that goal and to be accepted as the professionals that you are, as the physician assistant that you are, and all the work that you can do. And also because we need it here in Puerto Rico. I love the fact that you bring that we are medically underserved, definitely. And if patient is like our priority, I think that we must assume that same mentality that you guys have as being a teamwork, like doing teamwork and collaboration.
Yeah, I would say in all honesty, that is the entire reason why we're doing what we're doing. We're doing this in honor of patient care. Yes, we care for our students. Absolutely, we want to train competent PAs. Ultimately, it's putting the patient first.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so there are 2 more questions in YouTube. The first one is that Paola Babilonia has seen some programs that are interdisciplinary programs such as MD and PhD. She asked if PAs also have that type of programs.
This program does not. This program is not an interdisciplinary program. It offers a Master's of PA Studies, and I will say this is a full-time program. It is all day long, and it could be 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And it is required that you focus completely on the education. You cannot work while you're in PA school, just like in med school. You really need to give your full-time commitment to gaining this education in 28 months.
All right, and the next one is that I know that you guys were answering in the chat about the application process and when is a due date, but there's a question in YouTube that says, how different is the application timeline for PA? Because, for example, for MD, it's a full course year cycle.
Yeah, ours is open April 30th to October 1st. That information is also on our website. And when you apply through CASPA, just like AMCAS, allows you to apply to as many schools as you would like. Like I said, each prerequisite for each school may be slightly different, so do pay attention to that. And CASPA opens for everybody on April 30th. The sooner you get your application in, the better. I've been a part of admissions for over 18 years now, and I will tell you that those that get their application in early are those that are evaluated. It's surprising how long it might take to gather paperwork. So if you are serious about attending PA school, get your application in as soon as you can.
All right, thank you for that. And also, does anybody have another question, or does anybody want to ask personally? They can raise their hands via Zoom and we will let you turn on your microphone. Right now in YouTube, there are no more questions.
So I would like you guys maybe to like elaborate on maybe those misconceptions that in the medical field they have from the PA career, because I know there's a lack of knowledge. So there was a question from Naomi. She says, why do you think they don't feel that you are prepared to do the things you claim to be prepared to do? So maybe if you could answer that question. I know that we've been touching this topic through the entire Q&A session. So maybe if you could elaborate a little bit on what she wants to know.
Well, I think that we'll all approach this slightly different, but really it's constant education. It's not just the medical community in PR, it's also as a PA stateside, explaining to your patients what you do. Some patients haven't seen a PA, even to this day, and they're, oh, I want to see the doctor. And then you realize that this is a constant reminder that our profession is defined, even in front of our patients, as we know that introducing a new profession into a medical community can come with adversity. I mean, we know it, we've seen it, we've experienced it. And so the good thing is that having the support of stateside partners, our national organizations, et cetera, is going to help to change the consciousness. We are not here to compete, but to actually expand care. And when a physician can see and visualize and experience the training, the knowledge base, the professionalism that PAs can offer their practice, you recognize the value in it, and also the patients recognize that right away. So the good thing is it speaks for itself. But our initial obstacle is just getting our foot in the door, is just allowing us to provide the care that we're trained to provide, and let that be the testament to what we can offer to the medical community anywhere we are, not just in PR, but in any community.
I can give you an example. When I was a PA in New York, and a patient came in, so not another doctor, but a patient came in, and they said, you're a PA, I want to see the doctor only and not the PA. And I said, that's totally fine, you can. Do you mind if I get your history and so I understand why you are here today? And they said, okay, that's okay. And so I took their history and I said, do you mind if I do a physical exam? And they said, okay. So I did the best physical exam I ever have done on anybody. And I wanted to show them by my actions that I knew how to do it very well. So I think part of it also is that as a PA, it makes you want to be better because you want to show people that you have studied so hard and that you are competent and know what you're doing, so that they will trust you. And I think that's true anywhere, for any person, for patient, doctor, Puerto Rican, somebody from New York, New Yorican, that you want to build the trust so that they know that that you are competent.
Okay, great. Well, I guess that we don't have more questions maybe on YouTube. Andrea Rodriguez, okay, good. Well, Andrea, do you want to do the closing? First, I want to thank Charity and Laura for being here, and also the PA students. Thank you so much. This has been such a very informative session, and yeah, I'm very thankful, guys. Thank you. Andrea, you can.
As Keishla said, thank you guys. You brought an amazing team. I know that the people that are interested in the program are going to leave this session with all of their answers. And I know that after this session, there are people that are going to rethink, and because this is a great program. So again, thank you for bringing this information and for bringing some students so we can see from their perspectives. To our audience, a nuestros suscriptores, I don't know if you guys want to hear this also, but I'm going to say in Spanish and afterwards I can translate for you guys. A nuestros suscriptores, gracias nuevamente por unirse a nuestra sesión número 13. Les invitamos a la sesión de la semana que viene, 12 de febrero, que es de obstetricia y ginecología. Nuevamente les vamos a estar enviando la invitación como siempre por email. La pueden encontrar también en nuestro Linktree en Instagram. Importante para recibir el certificado de hoy, entre hoy y mañana estaremos enviando el quiz que estará abierto hasta el próximo viernes. Y también para la confusión del quiz de la semana pasada, ese quiz cerrará el lunes, así que todo el mundo va a tener disponible esa semana. Okay? For you guys, I was just telling our audience, and you can also join us if you like, that next week is going to be OBGYN, and we're going to send our invitation as per usual via email, okay? So thank you all for being here tonight, okay? And good night to all.
Good night.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
gracias.
Thank you, Ruth, Jessica, Chris, and Hillary for your support and your advocacy. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to receiving your applications in the cycle. Thank you all so much for coming tonight.
Thank you, Professor.